Nettie exhaled shakily. Something is here with us. Chief O'Cory forced his voice to remain steady. Do not panic. Someone light another lamp. But when one of the elders struck the flint, the spark died midair. He tried again. Another spark snuffed out instantly. It was as though something in the darkness refused to let light return. Adana whimpered. Nettie reached for her but stopped halfway. She felt a shift in the air, a coldness, unnatural and deliberate. Someone else was inside the hut with them. A presence. A faint scraping sound slithered along the wall. Chief Noli whispered hoarsely, "Who goes there?" No reply. Only that scraping, slow, deliberate, like a fingernail dragging across wood. Then, a voice, not loud, not shouting, but right behind them, as though it was whispering into the center of their bones. Soon the sky will forget you. Adana gasped. Nettie grabbed her hand. Chief O'Cory rose sharply. Who speaks? Show yourself. The whisper came again, this time more distant, as though echoing inside a tunnel of darkness. When the moon turns away, the forgotten will rise. The coldness vanished. The scraping stopped. Suddenly, whoosh. Asterisk, the lamp flared back to life, golden light flooding the hut. But nothing was there. No footprints. No open door. No disturbed dust. Just silence. The elders looked at one another. Even the bravest among them felt the tremor in their bones. Chief O'Cory inhaled deeply. We must pray. And prepare. Something ancient is stirring. Nettie placed a protective arm around Adana. The girl stared at the floor trembling, recalling the voice exactly. But there was something she hadn't told the elders. Something she had seen, not with her eyes, but with the strange sense that followed her gift. When the voice had whispered, she had felt. Stars receding. Light stepping back. Shadows growing to boldly. As if something was crawling into the world from the darkness between the stars. And in that brief moment, she sensed that the moon hadn't simply refused to shine. No, it had escaped. As though something ancient had forced it to retreat. And Adana knew, deep in her trembling little heart, that the faceless man by the river was only the beginning. The night had started to breathe. The moonless night weighed heavily over. A mahia like a thick blanket smothering the land. Even the wind witch normally wandered freely through the treetops. Humming its familiar lullabies grew still, as though afraid to move. Every corner of the village felt muted, suspended in a strange, breathless quiet. And in the darkness, people whispered. Why did the moon vanish? What did the child see? Who whispered in the elder's hut? Rumors traveled like insects. Fear crawled from hut to hut, settling into the hearts of families who had never known a night so unnatural. But none were more unsettled than Adana's mother. Chin sat by the doorway of their hut, her wrapper tied tightly around her chest, her eyes fixed on the path leading from the council hut. She kept tapping her foot uncontrollably, a habit she had whenever terror threatened to break her spirit. Every few seconds, she whispered prayers under her breath. Chukwu, protect my child. Keep her from spirits of the night. When she finally saw Adana approaching, accompanied by Nettie the herbalist, Chinwell sprang to her feet. Adana. She ran toward her daughter and pulled her into her arms as though retrieving her from the jaws of something unseen. Are you all right? Did the elders harm you with questions? Did they frighten you? I'm fine, Mama, Adana murmured, though her eyes said otherwise. Nettie stepped closer. She was brave. Much braver than most grown men would have been tonight. Chinwe looked at the older woman with gratitude but also fear. What did the elders say? Nettie's expression darkened. They believe something ancient has awakened. Chinwe swallowed. And the moon refusing to shine. Neddy lowered her voice. "That is not a rejection. It is a warning." Chinwoo trembled. That night, even as she lay beside her daughter inside their hut, Chinwoo barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she imagined a faceless man standing at the riverbank, watching, waiting, and worse, she imagined him whispering to her child. At the village square, a small gathering of watchmen sat around a dim fire. Normally, the square buzzed with nighttime activity-late conversations. Lovers meeting, hunters returning, but tonight it felt abandoned. The head watchman, Obadiah, rubbed his arms. "Has anyone noticed?" he asked quietly. "No crickets, no owls, not even the rustling of grass." "Yes," another watchman replied, his voice barely above a breath. "It is like nature itself is holding its tongue." Obadiah looked around the darkened village. And when the living fear to speak, the dead begin to listen. One man finished. But something else caught their attention. A faint vibration. At first, it felt like a distant tremor in the earth, barely perceptible. The men leaned forward, listening. Then one whispered, "Do you hear that?" It was soft. Almost too soft to be real. A humming. No, not quite humming. More like breathing. A slow, deep exhalation moving across the land, brushing their ankles, threading through the dust. The men stiffened. "What is that?" Obadiah whispered. The air pulsed again. Another breath. Except it was not human. And it was coming from everywhere at once above the trees, beneath the soil, inside the empty huts, weaving through the still night. The watchman stood abruptly. "Take your weapons," Obadiah ordered. "Something is approaching." But as soon as the words left his mouth, the fire at their center flickered once, twice, then died. Total darkness swallowed them. In another part of the village, Chief Okori had not closed his eyes since leaving the council hut. He paced slowly across his compound, clutching a staff whose bark was carved with old symbols of protection. His wife, Ngozi, watched him from the doorway. "Your spirit is restless," she said. "It should be," he replied, "when a moon that has never failed suddenly refuses to shine. It is not a matter for sleep." Ngozi stepped closer. What did the child say? What did she see? The chief hesitated. She said she saw a man by the river. A man who cast no shadow. Ngozi froze. "No shadow." She whispered the words as those speaking them aloud might invite something unwanted. "That is not human." "Exactly," the chief said. "And the voice we heard in the council hut." He paused. He could not finish. He did not want to. Ngozi touched his arm gently. "You must pray, Okori. Even the strongest of men need the gods now." He nodded, but as they stood together in the dark compound, the sound of soft footsteps echoed from the bush behind their hut, but not the footsteps of a person. These steps were too light, too airy, too whisper-like, as though made by something insubstantial, something that only pretended to walk like a human. Chief Okori gripped his staff tightly. The footsteps paused. And then a low chuckle, soft, distorted, unsettling, drifted from the shadows. Ngozi's blood ran cold. The chief shouted, "Who is there?" "Show yourself." Silence. Then the same voice he heard earlier. That chilling whisper from inside the council hut came again, drifting from behind the banana trees. "Chief Okari, your light is dimming." Ngozi gasped and clutched her chest. Chief Okori raised his staff defensively. "Reveal yourself." The voice responded with a faint laugh. "Not yet." Wind rose suddenly. No, not wind. A shift, a disturbance. A ripple of pressure around them. Okori felt something pass between him and his wife. Something invisible. Cold. Moving as though taking shape. Then it vanished. The footsteps faded away into the hollow darkness. Ngozi whispered shakily, "What?" was that? Chief O'Cory swallowed hard. I fear, he said, voice trembling for the first time, that something has crossed into our world. Inside their hut, Adana finally drifted into an uneasy sleep beside her mother. But the night had plans for her. Halfway between wakefulness and dreaming, she felt a strange pull like hands, made of mist drawing her gently into another realm. Her eyelids fluttered. Her breath slowed. Her body remained still beside her mother, but her mind traveled. She found herself once again standing by the quiet river. Except this time, the water was no longer gentle. It churned slowly, swirling in dark spirals as though stirred by an invisible force. And the moon, still gone, still hiding, back